And normally, when I speak in public, if I may say, I'm not that nervous. Tonight I'm very nervous because I feel the responsibility. The spectrum over here is a big spectrum, from left to right, right to left, whichever way you want to look at it. And to get the message across of an important foundation in Yiddishkeit, which today, that is the fight. My grandfather, Rav Aharon Lopian, was Shabbos by the Chofetz Chaim. And the Chofetz Chaim said to him that this was between the First World War and the Second World War. And he said to him, the First World War, a lot of Jewish blood was spilt. In a few years' time, the rivers of Europe will be full of blood of Europe, of the Jews. And it will be a Holocaust that we've never seen. And then there'll come a time where Ubahar Tzion Tia Pleito. There'll be, Jews will settle down, they'll go to Eretz Yisrael, they'll go to different countries and they'll settle down, and then they'll start what we call the Milchemes Goig Umogig. Goig Umogig is the last Milchama before Mashiach comes. And he said, what you saw in the Holocaust will be nothing compared to the Milchama that will be coming before Mashiach comes. The war, and everybody, and Rebellion turned around and says, "Vos fa milchama? What kind of milchama?" And he said, "It won't be a physical milchama; it will be a spiritual milchama." The milchemes Gog uMagog before Mashiach comes, the war that the Jews will be fighting before Mashiach comes, will be a war that a lot of Jewish blood will be spilt, but on a spiritual level. And the Milchama of Gog uMagog is the Milchama of Kedusha, holiness. And Baruch Hashem, Jews are fighting it, but the Satan is winning with a high score. Hundreds, thousands of families have been split up because of the internet. Hundreds and thousands of Bochrim have gone astray, lost their connection with the Ribbono Shel Olam because of what they've seen, what they're watching, and what they're doing. Kedusha, holiness, is an integral part and a foundation to all Judaism. Let me explain it with a mashal of the Al-Shich HaKodesh. The Al-Shich HaKodesh says, a beautiful mashal of the pauper who's sitting outside the king's palace, and he plays his violin, beautiful violin, and the king, waking up every morning in a bad mood, k'minig balabatim chashuvim, and there's this beautiful music outside that puts him in a good mood. And one day they came in and told him, the guy outside was playing the violin, he stole. In those days, if you steal, you cut off your hand. And the king said, Al kol peshoim techasa avo. On all his averos, on all his wrongdoings, techasa avo. The love of his music, I'm willing to overlook. 2 weeks later, they come in, they say, the pauper got into a fight in the bar and he broke a beer bottle over a guy's head. Sounds familiar? And the guy dropped dead. You have to kill him. And the king says, nothing doing. I need that music. That music is so beautiful to my ears. I'm willing to overlook it. Next week he comes in, he has a fight. They said he had a fight, and he lost one finger. But that one finger is the finger that helps him to play the violin. And he can't play the music anymore. And the king says, now it's time to kill him for everything. Kedusha is playing the Ribbono Shel Olam's song. When Klal Yisrael live a life of holiness, the Ribbono Shel Olam is willing to overlook some of our bad deeds. Sometimes he'll give us time till we do tshuva, till we repent. He's willing to overlook it, give us time. We have a lifetime of putting our act together. But there are times in the life where the Ribbono Shel Olam feels he's not on my page. We're not on the same page. He's not singing my song. We're miles apart. We're totally different, on a different page. There the Ribbono Shel Olam hits back straight away. And therefore, Kedusha, being an integral part, and it's called Midas HaYesod. In Kabbalah, it's known as the Midah of Yesod. Yesod means the foundation of Klal Yisrael. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai to get the Torah, he asked the Ribbono Shel Olam, what message should I give to Klal Yisrael? What's the message that I have to give them that they should be ready to accept the Torah? And the Ribbono Shel Olam turned around and said to him, nothing more than just two words. V'atem, you, tiyeh mamleches kohenim, a princely nation, v'goy kodesh, and a holy nation. Mamleches kohenim means we are all princes. We are all princes in the Ribbono Shel Olam's army. We eat differently, we speak differently, we dress differently. In all the golus that we've been through, and all the exiles that we went through, from the days of Mitzrayim, Klal Yisrael always stuck out as a nation that spoke differently, dressed differently. The whole being was different. The Goy Kodesh, and a holy nation. And Rashi says over there, Lo pochus v'lo yeseh. No more, no less. Just say that to them. That is the introduction to being Kabbalas HaTorah, to accepting the Torah. Mamleches kohenim v'goy kodesh. Bonim atem l'Hashem Elokeichem. We are children to the Ribbono Shel Olam. And the Ribbono Shel Olam looks at us as children, and we look at him as a father. We say, Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu is our father, Malkeinu our king. He's an Avinu, and he has the rachmanos of a father. He has the pity of a father. Kerachim of albonim. The same way as a father has mercy on his child, so the Ribbono Shel Olam has mercy on us. But there's only one condition. The pasuk continues, Ki am kodesh l'Hashem Elokeichem, because we are a holy nation to the Ribbono Shel Olam. Kedusha is what ties us in and what holds us together as bonim atem l'Hashem Elokeichem. We are children. There's a famous Yerushalmi that says, Omar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Ribbono Shel Olam says, Iyahivis libach ve'enoch, if you will give me your heart and your eyes, I know your dad and li, I know that you're mine. If you're willing to give up your heart and your eyes for the Ribbono Shel Olam, then I know you're one of mine. Then I know you're playing the violin that I like to hear. The eyes and the heart, don't go astray after what your heart wants and after what your eyes see. It says the Ribbono Shel Olam, v'yisem kedoshim le'Elokeichem. You should be holy to the Ribbono Shel Olam. A lot of us, with all our nisyonos, with all our tests in life, we walk around with an atom bomb in our pockets that a lot of times blow up in our faces. A lot of times we go through times where we feel we'll never be able to make it. We do certain averos that every one of us knows you're spitting God in the face. We do certain averos that cause a disconnect between you and the Ribbono Shel Olam. We don't feel connected. We walk into a Beis HaMedrash and we feel foreign because we feel dirty, because of what we've seen, what we've done. We know something inside us tells us we're not there. A lot of us have a certain conscience, and it can cause us depression. It can cause us a certain, we'll never make it. I'll never get, we hear this sometimes in life. We hear an inspirational speech and we suddenly get awakened, or it could be on a Yom Kippur, where somewhere along the line we get inspired. But where does it take us? Some of us might go to Uman, and we get inspired and we have a high. How long does it last? It's a quick fix. How long does it last? And this is the story of our life. How do we change? Are we ever going to change? And some of us look at it, the phone is here to stay. You can't fight City Hall. We need it for business. We need it for banking. We need it for so many things. How do I change my whole lifestyle? I'm so used to it. Everything's there on hand. How am I going to give it up? How will I ever get connected? And we go through life. You're still young. You've got a whole lifetime ahead of you. You have a whole lifetime ahead of you. Not always do you feel, do you understand that at the age of 40, 50, there's a lot of people in America suffer from midlife crisis. Maran Avadia Yosef didn't suffer from midlife crisis. Yet we do. Why? Because we hit an age where we suddenly realize we're not here to stay. We suddenly realize we're getting older. Not everything is in the working condition as it used to be. Our drive is not the same drive. We feel empty. What are we working for? Where we're going with all this? And even if I was, and I made, and I was matzliach, I was very successful in business, okay. Where's it taking me to? I'm 50 years old. What am I doing with it? So what's my dream? To be taken to the grave with a Tesla? What are we waiting for? There's a bigger picture. As the Chofetz Chaim used to say, we're here traveling through. Everybody understands when he sits down and he thinks about it. How long are we here for? And nobody knows what tomorrow brings. Nobody's safe. You can be sitting in a mall and it could be a shootout. America's not safe. Nowhere's safe. And the Rebbeinu Shalom is sending us, he's pinching us every so often. He sent us a Holocaust that hasn't happened in 70 years, 2 months ago. He's telling us the world is not Hefka. How do you say Hefka in English? Huh? It's not a free ride. It's not a free ride. It's not a free ride. We've got to do something about it. Those who, some of us who are connected more to Torah, who enjoy perhaps a bit of learning, sometimes can pull through the fight with the strength of coming to the Beis HaMedrash. But a lot of us go through the day, we wake up, even if we make it to Shachris, it's one of these Baruch She'amaz, Yishtabach, Shema, and Shemona Esra, and we're out the door before you can even say, and we're not connected, we just do it because we were born Jewish, Nebuch. And there's no meaning to life. And it affects our relationships later on in life with our wives, with our children, because we're somewhere else. We're somewhere else. We're somewhere else. How do we go about it? What is the pill? Right? We're so busy with pills. Right? What is the pill that we take to help us try some sort of way to have this some connection that our neshama is starving for, that we feel empty every so often. Our neshama is starving to get connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom. I hope with Siyata Dishmaya that tonight I will be able to perhaps on one side explain to you what we're doing with our lives, where we're going with it. But on the other hand, I hope that the Rebbeinu Shalom should help me give a certain siyata dishmaya that I'll be able to give you some sort of derech how to get out of all this shmutz. There's a famous Tana de Eliyahu. Eliyahu Novi says over a story in Tana de Eliyahu. Pam achas. There was one time I was going in Bovel. Bovel was then Golus. And I came into a city that was only Jewish. Right? It was taken over by Jews. And I saw there a Rosh Yeshiva who was teaching Bochrim. There was over 200 Bochrim in the yeshiva. And they were all sitting in the Beis HaMedrash learning. And I came back a year later. And I walked into this town and I saw it desolate. There was nobody around. There was nobody around. The grandson of the Rosh Yeshiva was walking around. There was nobody around. The Talmidim were all gone. They were all nifta. The Rebbe was nifta. And I understood because of their maisim hamukul kolim, he writes, because of their bad maisim. The Rebbe died, his wife died, his son died, and all these 200 Bochrim died. And I sat there crying until a malach min hashamayim came to me. And he said, "Why are you crying, Eliyahu? What are you waiting about?" He said, "I shouldn't cry. There was just 200 people who were just wiped off the ground. 200 people. They weren't in a rave. They were in a Beis HaMedrash. We're talking about sitting in the Beis HaMedrash. We're not talking about sitting in some crazy party. And they just got, that's it, a Holocaust. So the Malach turned around and says, I don't understand you. Why are you crying? It's not good that you're crying. Why are you crying? He says, what do you mean? Why am I crying? I'm crying because there's yeshiva bachrim who got to the madrega of learning Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos, and they're nowhere to be seen. He said, no, they used to do terrible things. Listen to the Lashon. Shemayu oisen dvarim u'chuarim, disgusting things. U'dvarim shein, things that were not fitting for yeshiva bacha to do. V'yu metzim shichva zera b'chinam. They were being motzi zera levatala. In your language, they were wasting seed. V'hem lo yodim ba'atzmon, and they didn't realize sha'amisa mesagosam. Death will catch up to them. He says over here, Devarim b'chuarim, devarim sheniruim lekalkel me'atzmon. Things that they did disgusting, they probably made dirty jokes. Their language was who knows what. Nivel peh, beautiful. You said it. And they ended up where they ended up. Here I want to explain to you one nakuda, one point, which he writes over here, death caught up to them. The Ramban writes that on Rosh Hashanah, when it says there are 3 books open for tzaddikim, beinonim, urushoim, and when we talk about those who are put aside lemisa, and those who are put aside l'chaim, life and death, says the Ramban, remember this. This is an unbelievable yesod to remember for life. Death doesn't mean you're going to drop dead. Death means quality of life. Living means quality of life. And when a person when in Shemaim they decide that you are not going to, your paskin lemisa, it doesn't mean you're dropping dead. Not always. But it's going to be a year of depression. You're going to spend more time by the therapists. You're going to be taking anxiety pills with antidepressant pills and who knows what. Quality of life. How many guys in this room can turn around and count on one hand how many days they wanted to get out of bed because they had what to live for? Or we just get out of bed because we have to. That's called Misa. That's called death. We're not living our life. Quality of life is also Chaim, is also life. And this is something that we have to go over every so often, remind ourselves. When we get into what we call a flunk, what do they call it? I don't know what they call it over here. And you're feeling down. And you just don't have this go in you to pick yourself up. What is it? The Rebbeinu Shalom is giving you a pinch. Is this Chaim or is this Misa? Is this life? Are you surviving life or are you living life? And most of us are surviving. And we don't even realize from where it's coming from. We think the quick fix that we're going to press and scroll down when we go onto the porn, and that will give us the quick fix, or whatever we want to go for. That is going to give us the Chaim that will just bring more Misa, more survival mode. How do we change? How do we change our whole mentality? Let me explain you something. The Mesilas Yesharim writes that we came down on this world to enjoy ourselves. Ha'adam lo nivra ela lis'aneg. He makes a tanai, he makes a condition. Al Hashem. We're here to enjoy. The Rebbeinu Shloim gave us a neshama. This neshama is made up of one thing, enjoyment. That's why we always are so busy trying to enjoy ourselves, because we're trying to fulfill that void of enjoyment that we're not having in the spiritual world. We think we can fill it up in the Gashmis world, in the physical world. When they say that Jews love money, so we say it's an anti-Semitic statement. It's not. It happens to be true. It's not. It happens to be true. Do you want to know why? Because we have a yearning to enjoy. We have a yearning to make it to the best, to the top. That's a Jew. That's why Jews control the world. That's why Jews control the financial world. That's why Jews control the nursing home world. That's why Jews control the real estate world. Wherever you go, the Jews at the top. Why? Because a Jew has a neshama, and that neshama wants to have something great to cleave to. If it doesn't have that enjoyment in Al Hashem, that what you were brought down on this world for, to enjoyment, to have a connection with Ribono Shel Olam, it's going to be diverse somewhere else. The same way as the Torah says, Oyev Torah, la yizbah Torah. Somebody who loves Torah is not going to be satisfied. He'll always want to learn more. The same way on the other side. Oyev Kesef, you love money. You're never going to be satisfied. You made $1 million, you want 2. You want 3, you want 4. There's no end. Because there's a yearning in a Jew. A goy is quite happy with a bit of money. There's enough to buy his beer and his drugs and the chula, and that's it. He's quite happy. He has no yearning to be the billionaire. Once in a while, you might find a goy who became very rich, and you probably find out that his great-grandmother was Jewish. But otherwise, not happening. The Jews are the ones that have this go in them and their want because of their neshama. The soul that the Rebbeinu Shalom put in us is lis'aneg al Hashem, is a soul that wants enjoyment. You'll either go one way to connect it to the Rebbeinu Shalom, or you go the other way. What controls our wants? What controls our wants? You know, a lot of times after Yom Kippur, we go through a Yom Kippur, and everybody on their level wants to take a small Kabbalah. Something small he'll accept. We all know it lasts from Ne'ilah till Mariv. That's why we say Slach Lanu in Mariv, because we've already long forgotten about that Kabbalah. How come it doesn't stay? How come it doesn't stay? Because you cannot change a want if what's controlling your want is your time. It's called Olam HaTainug. Olam HaTainug, the world of enjoyment. When the world of enjoyment it controls what your rots and what your want is. We can't change our rotzen. We can change our Olam HaTainug. We can change the world of our enjoyment. If we want to change somewhere along the line, we have to change where we really enjoy, what we enjoy. Nisyonos, tests, we're going to have all the way through life. But where's our focus? Where's our enjoyment? Is our enjoyment to get closer to the Ribono Shel Olam? Do we want to get closer to the Ribono Shel Olam? Do we want to learn a bit more Torah? Do we want to get more into it? Or do we want, our enjoyment is out there? If you're not changing your world of enjoyment, you can want and want and want to want, and it'll never happen. And you'll go through life, a life of miso, because you'll never be satisfied. You'll never feel content. Yismach leiv mavakshe Hashem. Those who are happy and content are only the ones who are mavakshe Hashem, want and are mavakish, seek the Ribono Shel Olam. That's where the real simcha is. Dancing by a bar or some nightclub is not going to give you simcha. It's going to cover over your depression. It's going to cover over your failures in life. It's not giving you the simcha, the contentness, the feeling of good, the feeling of connection. And the neshama feels at peace. Those who don't have that feeling don't have peace. They're always on the run. They're always survival. They're always misa. Because the neshama is not in the right place. You want to change your rotzen? The only way you're going to change your want is let's start higher up. Let's try and change the world of enjoyment. Slowly, let's move it over towards the right. And I want to tell you an Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Unbelievable Orach Chaim HaKadosh. He asks a question that everyone in this room is asking at this point. He says like this: I can understand a mitzvah, don't lie. Don't lie is a mitzvah in the Torah. Commandment in the Torah, lo yisaseh, you shouldn't lie. So I can understand that Moshe Rabbeinu, Rav Avadia, and the guy who's born and brought up in Los Angeles, in Stein V'Amoira, is under one umbrella. Because that morally we can understand. So therefore, me and Moshe Rabbeinu, or me and the Gadol, who's living in Eretz Yisrael, never looked out of his Daladamas, never looked out of his Gemara since day one, we're under the same umbrella. No problem. But Chaim says, but if you take a mitzvah of Kedusha, v'lo yisosuru achrei lavavchem v'achrei einaychem, it's not fair and it doesn't make sense that we're under the same umbrella. If I was brought up in Rehov Rashbam, my name was Kanievsky, and I never walked into a makolet in my life, and all I did was sit and learn from the age of 6, 7, and I had no other machshava in my life besides Torah, so I understand, yeah, it works with him. But I was brought up in America. Uncle Joe gave me an iPhone at 13 as a bar mitzvah present with every app that you could either get onto. At 12 years old, I was already, I wouldn't call myself a porn addict, but I was on the way. I was steiging. Right? And the rest is history. You don't even believe that you can even control yourself. And the Orach Chaim says even further. Once I've seen, in a human nature, once I've seen, there's no going back. In fact, if you ask any doctor, he'll tell you that the addiction of porn is stronger than the addiction of Coke. I don't mean Coca-Cola. Right? It's stronger than Coke. What it does to the brain, forget about marriage, what it does. Forget about what it messes up the whole brain. Is a bigger damage than anything else. Forget about the connection with the Ribono Shel Olam. The addiction, it's a killer. A kid of 12, 13, seeing what he sees. And then he becomes second nature. He doesn't even understand that. Hakol tolui b'mazel, says the Gemara. Everything depends on mazel. And you go over to everybody for bracha, and you will say mazal tov. You know what mazal stands for? Moitzi zera levatola. Hakol tolui, everything depends on mazel. And we want mazel tov. Be careful. And the Orach Chaim goes ahead and says, it's not fair to put us all under one umbrella? That every Jew across the border, the whole spectrum has one mitzvah. It's not fair. I was brought up in Pico. It was right in front of my face. You can't walk on the streets here in the summer. Forget about the winter. Right? At least 3 times a day you need a mikveh. How do I make it? How am I going to make it? As much as I wanted to keep clean, I can't. The nisyonos are unbelievable. You can't walk anywhere, you can't talk anywhere. Wherever you go, it hits you right in the face. How do you expect me? Well, it's the same way as somebody who's brought up in Rehov Rashbam, in Beis Yisrael, or Vadia, from the age of 6, 7, didn't stop learning. He knew nothing. How can you put us under one umbrella? Once you've seen, once you do, there's no return. You need more. You want more. So how do we stop? Says the Orach Chaim HaKodesh, listen to this. Unbelievable. You're right. In a regular human body, once you're addicted, that's it. You're going through life. A goy doesn't understand. Go and tell a goy that the average yeshiva bocher in the Jewish world has never had relationships with girls. He'll look at you as if you're nuts. 22 years old, what's wrong with you? Are you on the right agenda or what? What's wrong with you? You don't understand that a goy can't even fathom that it's such a metzius. Yet the Orach Chaim HaKodesh says that you're right. On a regular human body, there's no return. But a Jew, he has a neshama, which is connected all the way up to the Ribbono Shel Olam. That's our connection with Ribbono Shel Olam. We are one with the Ribbono Shel Olam. If you want to have a relationship and you make up your mind that you want to change your mindset and you want to have a relationship with Ribbono Shel Olam, you will get godly powers to overcome your regular animal instincts. Because Ani Hashem Elokeichem, because I'm your God. A person can get godly powers above nature the minute he makes up his mind that he wants to change his mindset and he wants to get closer to the Ribbono Shel Olam. And I'm making up my mind that I'm going to have to cut down on how I use this machine, how I go in the street, where I look. I'm going to fall every so often. Sheva Yipol Tzaddik. A tzaddik falls 7 times, v'kom, and he comes up. And the Mefarshim ask, if he's falling so many times, why is he a tzaddik? You know why? Because he can pick himself up. Picking himself up, says the Ribbono Shel Olam, that's all I want. You want to move in the right direction? I will give you godly powers that you'll be able to overcome the biggest nisyonos. I'll give you the godly powers that you'll be able to clean up that head that is so full of schmutz. I'll give you godly powers that you can walk under the chuppah. How many bochum did I turn around that did the 40-day program of not being Motzaei Zera, not jerking off in your language, right? For 40 days, they went on to 100 days, they went on to 200 days. Had a bocha once came to me in yeshiva and he came with a girlfriend. And he called me up on the day of his chuppah. He says, Rabbi, I want to thank you. I'm 2.5 years clean. I'm walking down to the chuppah 2.5 years clean. I'll go even further. I had a bocha once came to yeshiva and he'd been around the block, as they call it. He did every base. And I said to him, Rabbi, 40 days. Let's start with 40 days. Rabbi, 40 days? Breakfast, supper, and lunch. 40 days. I said, 40 days, if you make up your mind, you will get godly powers. Anyway, he makes it through the 40 days. And I said to him, okay, another $500, another 61 days. I want 101 days. Okay. I said to him, I want to tell you something. Anytime you have a nisayon, you have a test, and you think you're going to fall and you're going to break, you should know at that point you have the same power as Yosef HaTzadik had when he had his Nisayon. And therefore you have the biggest koach, the biggest strength of davening. You can ask by the Ribbono Shel Olam anything you want, and you'll get it. Not in the physical world. I'm talking about ruchni, spiritual. Don't get carried away. Whatever you want, you'll get it. Anyway, I get a phone call in the middle of the winter. Rabbi, I want to come around and make a l'chaim. 360 days, 5 days clean. Okay. Turns up, and he says to me, I want to tell you a story. He says, I was in the summer, I was in Miami, and a bunch of my friends were staying in a hotel, so I went down to the lobby to, spend time with them. Anyway, this guy's a good-looking boy, and 2 girls turned up by him, and he started schmoozing. And he says, I didn't even realize, but he says, within 20 minutes, he said, let's go upstairs. He said, I walked into the room, I was 2 minutes away from doing the worst. He said, Rabbi, they were knockouts. I'm telling you straight, this was a nisoyin change. And he said, I suddenly remembered what you told me. He said, I ran downstairs, I went into a corner in the hotel, and I davened to the Ribbono Shel Olam for 2 things. First thing is, I wake up every morning with a smile on my face, wanting to live the day. Second, whenever I go to Seder, I'm going to the Beis HaMedrash, give me the simcha that I want to learn. I want to go. Just give me that cheshek that I want to run into the Beis HaMedrash. He says, Rabbi, I came back to Chodesh Elul. Right? You're talking about Elul, Tishri, Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves. We'll do about 5 months. He says, there's not a day gone by where I don't wake up in the morning with a smile. And I don't, every Seder, you're talking about morning, afternoon, and evening, where I don't feel like running into the Beis HaMedrash to learn. He says, I've never in my life felt so good, so happy, so content. He didn't become a white shirt guy. Don't worry about it. He didn't become a white shirt. He's still walking around with a colored shirt and without a hat. Don't worry about it. He's happily married. But you understand what it means, koach hatfilah? Do you understand who's the one that brings, we have a lot of you guys probably think, if the Rishonim, they talk about it, couldn't bring Mashiach, how are we going to bring Mashiach? Do you understand that we are the ones that can bring Mashiach? There's never been a generation that has had so many nisyonos, so many tests like you guys. Never. In the 2,000 years that we're in Golus, no generation has been hit with so much schmutz right in their face. And yet, you're willing to fight? Do you know what that's worth, says the Arizal? It's worth more than the Rishonim, worth more than the Tanoim's Avoida. One hold back, one turning your face, one holding back, I'm not going to go and press that button on my phone. To the Ribbono Shel Olam, what you will do is worth millions of dollars more than the avoda of Gedolim from previous generation. Because that nisoyon that you have, nobody else had. Do you know what it's worth upstairs? Do you know how much the Ribbono Shel Olam is so happy? That a guy is willing to give up because he wants, just for one reason, I want to get closer to you. Do you know how much the Ribbono Shel Olam looks down and says, I'm willing to give you whatever it takes? Do you know how much he's machshiv you? How much he looks down on you and he respects you for it? The guy in the baseball cap is the one that will bring Mashiach. Yeah, he will bring Mashiach. Because in the Milchemes Goig u'Magog, in the last war The war will be between Kedusha and Tumah. And those who are willing to fight are the ones who will be Zeicher to see Mashiach. How much is it worth to the Rebbeinu Shalom? Unbelievable. Nobody's been hit like you guys. And yet, in the depth of the Mem Tesh Shari Tumah, in the 49th Madrega of Tumah, I'm willing to pick myself up. I'm willing to come to a Motzaei Shabbos to hear, how do I go about it? What am I supposed to do over here? I'm lost. I want to get connected. I have an emptiness. My neshama is yearning for something. I can't put my finger on it. I can't put my finger, but I know I feel empty. I feel empty. And every time I do something, it's a quick fix. It's just to get away from the reality. And when it gets when the reality is too strong, so then I need my weed, and it gets worse, and this and that. We're all running away from the reality of real living. And it's all from Tumah. You'll tell me it chills me out, I can relax. I don't know. I went into Rabbi Steinman, I went into Rabbi Kanievsky, I was by Maran Avadia. I've never seen more chilled out people in their life. Calm, collective, sitting in a room 2x2s. They were the most chilled out people I ever met. They had nothing except connection with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Nothing really bothered them. They didn't have any other want except just to learn more and more, to get closer and closer. That was the only yearning. They didn't need, I don't need, next door neighbor bought a new car, I need you to model, I need this, I need that, I want a nicer place, I want this, I want that. I'm not happy with $1 million, I need $2 million, because he's already got a name as to how much he's worth, I've got to be worth more than him. We're never happy. We're chasing our own tail. Gedolei Yisrael never had to chase their tail. They didn't suffer from midlife crisis, because there is no crisis. They're living with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Tumah causes, the Tumah that we live in causes, Misa causes death. Death means quality of life. The only way we're going to change it is by changing our mindset. It's not happening overnight. It's not happening overnight. The way a person wants to go, the Malachim, say the Mefarshim, that lead him to the way he wants to go. How come we have these wants and we don't feel it? We don't make it to the end. A lot of us make up our minds, we're going to do this. It doesn't happen. We lost a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks. Where's the Molichin, I say? Chazal promised me. And we start having complaints to the Rebbeinu Shalom. See, I try, and you're not there to help me. And the answer is, from how much they help you, you see how much you want it. If you really want it, you'll end up with it. But we have a lot of different wants. We have to understand, if we want something, we have to be focused on that want, and we have to understand where we're going with it. Totally focused on that want, and you will be matzliach, you'll make it at the end. But derech shadam reitzef, Chachamim told us, but derech shadam reitzeh leilach, the way a man wants to go, molichinoisei, they will help you, the malachim will follow you through. And if they don't, because you don't want 100%, you want this and you want that, and I want this and I want that, and I want this as well. No, that doesn't work. You can't have both sides of the fence. It doesn't work. You can't be in love with two women. You can't be in love with God and also in love that God doesn't like. You want to be in love with God, you're going to have to give up your other loves. It doesn't happen overnight. But I've got to start somewhere. Let's start at a place. Let's start changing our enjoyments. It's not happening overnight. But if we can get to that point of our enjoyments, let's start enjoying 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day. We start enjoying learning. We start enjoying davening. We start enjoying doing one mitzvah. Start enjoyment, it will affect our wants. Because if the enjoyment is over there, you can want to go there, it's not happening. Because you are controlled by where your enjoyment is. And at the end of the day, we came down on this world, lehit'aneg al Hashem. To enjoyment al Hashem, to be close to the Rebbeinu Shalom. In a football game, when they're both winning equal, the last 15 minutes is the most tense time where everybody goes the extra mile in order to get that goal to be the one that wins the fight. We're holding before Mashiach comes and the Sultan feels that he might be losing the battle. Mashiach comes, he's out of business. And he's putting in extra effort to win that goal. He's bringing down so much tumah to this world in order to make sure that we don't win the battle. The same way as we went out of Mitzrayim, that's how we're going to go out of this golus as well. And just like in Mitzrayim, 4/5 didn't make it, not because they did Grace HaAveras, not because they did big Averas. When they came to the Yamsuf, the Malach said, Halolo if they avodah zarah, halolo if they avodah zarah. They're serving avodah zarah, they're serving avodah zarah. Why are you saving the Jews over the Mitzrayim? That means they want the biggest tzaddikim. That 1/5 that came out weren't the biggest tzaddikim. What happened to the 4/5? 4/5 didn't make it. In the Makas Choshech, they all got wiped out. They were survival. They were living on survival. They weren't ready to go the extra mile, to do that extra work, cleaning up their mess, change the olam hatainig, change the world of enjoyment. They had a certain enjoyment in Mitzrayim. Now we're changing it. We're going to the Midbar to be Makabel Torah. 1/5 agreed to do that. V'anisha b'tzion. The Pasuk, the Navi says, who's going to be left over in Zion when Mashiach comes? Kodesh Yomulai, the ones who fought to be holy. That is what's going to hold us up. Those are the ones who are going to be Zoicha v'sechazeno Eynayim. Our eyes will be Zoicha to see v'shuvcha l'Tzion. When Mashiach comes back to Tzion, to Yerushalayim. So my Zayda used to say, he'll come for sure. But not everybody's going to be Zoicha because those eyes that watched other things are not going to be Zoicha to see Mashiach. Doesn't work. Those eyes that were looking all over the place. We have to have kosher eyes in order to see the Tzion Barachamim. The Arabs, says the Zohar, have a koyach, have something over Eretz Yisrael because they do milah. Because they do milah. And that's why the Rebbeinu Shalom gives them a koyach to come into Eretz Yisrael. They have some sort of hold on Eretz Yisrael. And when Klal Yisrael are not a shema baris, they come in. When Klal Yisrael are not being Shema Bris, when everything's going on, Kol Davar Osa, that gives the koyach of Arabs to come in. The ups and downs of life are controlled by your mazel. We don't realize that the future of our business, the future of our marriage depends on the years of how we behave when we're not married. The famous mashal of a guy who bought a beautiful new car, and his child took it out, and 2 o'clock in the morning, used to fly around the corners, 2 wheels, 360 turnarounds, and everything that happened. And he did that for a few months, and then the parents decided, okay, we're traveling across country, we're going to Miami, but we're going to do it by road, do it slowly. And halfway, the car breaks down. Do you know why? Because it was misused. The Ribbono Shel Olam gave us a koyach of reproduction. We have a koyach of hiloda. We can bring the next generation. When are we allowed to use that? From the minute we say Hariyat Mukadeshas Li, when that ring goes on to my wife, and I say Hariyat Mukadeshas Li, that is when I can use this vehicle of bringing the next generation. But if I misuse it beforehand, it will break down halfway. The Ramban writes, the covenant that we make between Klal Yisrael and Ribbono Shel Olam is a bris milah. Why dafka do we have to make the bris on that organ? Do it on our Jewish nose. I think that would be a bigger, tell the world, we are Jewish, we're not Jewish. Why dafka over there? And the Ramban writes an unbelievable thing. He says, because that is the organ that causes the most confusion in a person's life. That is the organ that tests who really you are. And the Ribbono Shel Olam came along and said, dafka, especially on that Ava, I'm going to make a covenant with you. Because that is where you're going to show who you are. If I want to measure how much do you belong to me, on what page are you on, I want to know if it's going to be Kedushas HaBris. Because Kedushas HaBris is the mirror of who you are. You speak Lashon Hara, you miss a davening, that doesn't say who you are. But the way you deal with Kedushas HaBris, that is what controls our life. That is what causes the biggest confusion in our life. That is the biggest giving up. So the Ribbono Shel Olam says, over there, dafka there, I'm going to make a covenant with you. Asher kedishona b'kedushosu shel Avram Avinu, la'achnisei b'vrisa shel Avram Avinu. This is going to be the bris kodesh. This is going to say what kind of person are you? Are you on my camp? Or are you somewhere else? Not always does the Ribbono Shel Olam judge us by the amount of averos we've done, by the amount of mitzvahs we've done. Most times he judges us, who are you? Look in the mirror. Where do I want to go in life? You want to know what the ladder of measurement is? The measure tape of who you are, 1 to 10? Take a look at your Kedushas HaBris. That tells everything. That says everything. And Dafka there says that Ribono Shel Olam. That is where I know how much of a Jew you are, or how much less of a Jew not. How Yiddish are you? How much do you want to be connected to me? How much do you want to be with Kedush Lachnisei Bevrisei Shel Avraham Avinu? We're part of his nation. He's the father of all Jews. How much do I want to be an Avraham Avinu Dike Yid? How much do I want to be a Yid out there? That's why it's called Midas HaYesod. This is the foundation of our whole being of Jewishness. Rabbi Yisai, I'm not going to keep you too long, but I don't know if you know, these are the weeks of Shovavim. Shovavim is Shmois Va'era, Boi B'Shalach. These are the parshas when Klal Yisrael came out of Mitzrayim, and they were ready. They came out of the 49th Madrega level of Tumah to be Makabel Torah. Every year, we travel through time. There's a hashpah coming down from Shemayim, giving us the siyata d'shmaya to help us to go through these weeks, especially in the midas of Yesod, the midas of Kedushas Habris. There's a special siyata d'shmaya at this tkufa, this time of the year. You go to Yerushalayim, you go into certain shuls like Shari Shamayim. Every Thursday there's a minyan there of hundreds of people who are fasting and saying slichot and saying the Yud Gimel Midas, etc., etc. Everybody has a mess to clean up. The Ribono Shel Olam doesn't expect us overnight to become tzaddikim. What he wants from us is, let's change our mindset. Let's understand that we want quality of life. We want mazel in life. We want panos in life. One of the biggest things that causes bankruptcies and aniyut is Motzaei Levatala. Take a look through all the Svarim. A lot of times you see people, one of the biggest vehicles to a happy marriage is Kedushas Habris of a Yeshiva Bocha. There's so much at stake. And I don't want you walking out of here thinking, I give up. No way. It's not going to happen. There's no way. What am I going to do? Put a block on my iPhone? So it's going to go a bit slower. I won't be able to get to the bank so quick because there's going to be some sort of hold on my thing, on my phone. Let's start slowly. Nobody's telling you not to watch a movie. Let's start with porn. Let's get rid of the porn. Put a block on all that you can't get to porn. Enough. You're killing your eyes. You're killing the schuts that you're going to have, that you'll see one day Mashiach. When you put that block on that phone, you have no idea. The Ribono Shel Olam with the Malachim are crying when they look down and they see, look at this kid. Look where he's coming from. Look at the nisyonos that he's going through, all the tests. And he's willing to be moiser nefesh, to give up. That is your Akedas Yitzchok. That is your Akedas Yitzchok. You're giving up so much just to get closer to the Ribono Shel Olam. Do you know what that's worth? Millions. Do you know what hatzlacha that will bring you? How much good it will bring you in life? I had a bochur who said he needed a shidduch. I told him, do him 40 days and you'll get engaged. Okay, it took him 3/4 of a year to get there. Every time, 30 days, 35, he fell. I told him, go back to the mikvah, start again. There's no looking back, move forward. 38th day, he calls me up and he says to me, Rabbi, I'm climbing the walls. I said, you're not going to sleep tonight? You're sleeping on the park bench. And he slept on the park bench. He made it to 40. His mother called him up and said, you're coming home. I've got shidduch for you. I had a boch in yeshiva whose brother didn't have kids for 7 years. So he comes and he says to me, what do I do? I said, 40 days. He did 40 days. He comes to me 3 months later. He says, she's pregnant. I said, yeah, but she probably had a lot of miscarriages. She better do another 40 days. She had a baby after 9 months. I had a guy last year whose wife had cancer. They weren't allowed to have kids. This is 7, 8 years, 9 years later. He says, the doctor said it might be dangerous, but you can have. Try. He said, Rabbi, I need a bracha. I said, $5,000 to Shmirat Eynayim. He wrote out a check for $5,000. He called me up 2 weeks later and said, she's pregnant. I said, it's not a meifus. It's poshut. Kedushas habris changes your mazel. Kedushas habris changes everything. Kedushas hamachshava, your mind comes cleaner. You're ready to take in the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's a whole different ballgame. When you have an isayon and you stop it, and you go into a corner and you ask the Rebbeinu Shalom, give me, help me, he will answer you. There's no two ways about it. He has to answer you. You're bechinas Yosef HaTzadik. You're sitting on a gold mine, you guys. On a gold mine. We just have to make the first move. And this, as the Or HaChaim HaKodesh says, you will get godly powers. You don't have to go to yeshiva and sit there 24/7. You will get godly powers just with the decision that I want to change my mindset, that I want to start enjoying being connected to God. Slowly. It's not happening overnight. You will fall on the way. Don't get depressed. Don't give up. Start again. But you'll make it. You will change the mazel of your life, your panosa, your children. Everything will change. Everything will change. And the Rebbeinu Shalom will be so happy with you that from the depths of Tumah, they pick themselves up. These are the ones that will take us to Mashiach. You are the guys who are going to lead us to the Motzaei Eynayim, B'shuvcha l'tzion, B'rachamim. Slowly, together, we shall all be zeicha to be in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. All be zeicha with these eyes to see the Mashiach coming. Binyan Beis Hamikdash. Amen v'amen.